Christian. I'm one of the co-founders at the Depositary, and I'm joined today by a man who needs no introduction, Mr. Nick Lyons of No Letting Go and Capture. Nick, how are you?
I am very well, very well. Thank you very much.
So we're not strangers, Nick. We've been obviously talking for several years, industry stuff, but also Depositary. And about 2 years ago, we integrated Depositary with Capture. So this is long overdue. And we're gonna whip through a demo just to really show a little bit about what the Depositary does, but primarily what the massive win is at our integration with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, looking forward to this.
Yeah. So without further ado, prevent me waffling too much. Let's share my screen, and that's. Can you see my dashboard that's come up, Nick?
Yes,
fantastic.
Okay.
Cool. So for anyone watching, this is really what a Depositary dashboard looks like. Now, one brief disclaimer I'm going to give: we are conducting this demo on our testing environment. It's exactly the same as our live environment. The only thing is it is a little bit slower. So when you see it move between steps on our live environment, that will be almost instant. On here, there can be a little bit of lag. But really what we do, we try to address a few key things. So for property managers or admin staff that handle tenancy conclusions, but also the management that oversees that team, we enable you guys to have an instant oversight of all your concluding tenancies, how they're progressing, what stage they're at, etc., etc. So it's just an instant snapshot. Really, in terms of day-to-day use, we recommend users focus on these groups at the top and just come into the platform, ideally 2 or 3 times a day, and just keep trying to keep these numbers as close to 0 as possible, which just means you're just nurturing your tenancies through the platform. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm a letting agent myself. I have been for 21 years now. And yeah, you know,
still looking very young.
Yeah, I'll peel the fake face off later. But yeah, so really we started this journey for our own agency. We started looking at how we do things, and we've got a lot of tech and partners that we work with in the business, and what we landed on was the big drain on us as a business was tenancy conclusions. Very repetitive, very boring, very easy to miss a step, particularly if you had staff go sick, go on holiday, etc., etc. A huge frustration point for tenants. You know, we have really good relationships with our tenants, but we found that no matter how good that relationship was, we'd get to the end and they'd be this, oh yeah, this is where you're going to rip us off sort of thing. And so that's where we came at this from. We came at this really primarily from an agent's perspective. How can we streamline this job? How can we automate as much as possible? How can we remove the really boring, turgid parts of the job? But we had a really good look at the tenant and landlord journey in that as well. And how do we make that clean and simple and fair? And part of that fair is why it was really important that we partnered with companies like No Letting Go and Capture.
And I think, can I just butt in it, Chris? Because I think from our perspective, you know, the journey for an inventory company such as, so obviously we have 2 sides to our business. We have No Letting Go, which is 90 offices, some 8,000-9,000 visits a month, enormous amount of activity going through the market, picking up inventories, checkouts, midterms, all that stuff pouring into and of course when you're that busy, in terms of our clients are that busy, there's an enormous amount of administration that goes on through the system. And then of course we've got our capture side of our business, which is where we provide the tools, the software tools to our clients that want to sort of combine that No Letting Go and Capture thing, but it all comes into one data point. And fundamentally, you're collecting this vast amount of information that has to be analysed. And one of the big problems that we always, many of our clients will have, is that we're getting all this data into the system, but our clients then have got to analyse this data. Obviously, we give them as many exception reports. We help them as much as possible, but what we can't do is then plug in the next stage in of their system. And of course, when you and I spoke, Chris, many years ago. It was, you're coming out from an agent, I'm coming out from years doing inventories. and it just made a lot of sense, and it's something that people, oddly enough, hadn't looked at that particular time. So yeah, it's a sorry, I'll let you carry on.
No, mate, absolutely butt in, and you're gonna have to, because I think everyone knows I'm not backwards at talking, so make sure you own that bit. But yeah, I think we touched on this. We had a brief chat before, didn't we? I think one of the complexities about what you guys and what us do is this isn't sexy.
No.
It's not a glamorous part. We're not landing clients. We're not smashing out valuations. We're not generating big deals. This is the bit that doesn't get spoken about. This is the bit that gets, parked at the back of the office and, comes at the end of the revenue earning journey as well. Let's not forget that. We come in when all the money's been banked and kind of the job's done. But there's this really important, really contentious, and rather sort of turgid process. So yeah, what we've tried to do is reduce agent time, and what we're now seeing, our research showed us that to conclude a tenancy from after notice through to refund is somewhere between 3 to 4 hours manual work for your average agent. And we're now averaging, most of our agents will now conclude a tenancy in around 15 minutes of work, if they use all of our partner integrations. And the biggest win that they will get is our partner integration with No Letting Go and Capture, and we'll get to that in a minute. So let's stop alluding. Let's get cracking. So I'm going to bring up a tenancy that we've set up in our system. Just bear with me a second. So here we go. So we've got a tenancy set up in our system, and we're going to advise that notice has been served. So just one thing to clarify, our platform does not facilitate the issuing of notice. We look after everything immediately after that. So whether it's the agent serving notice or receiving notice from the tenant, we look after everything that happens after that. So we're going to assign this tenancy to myself. We're going to assign inventory clerk, and just make sure this is all, this is all set up correctly. Just click save to start the process, and here we are. So this is our tenancy dashboard. This is largely, obviously there are slight changes, but this tenancy dashboard for the tenant, agent and landlord is very, very similar. The layout is the same, the functionality is the same. Obviously some GDPR, some information is visible, some not others. Some functionality about changing users, editing amounts, that is agent only. But the core stuff, so this timeline, so this was one of our big objectives right at the start, was for tenants and landlords to make a visual journey of what is required to get the money back. Because again, that's another thing as agents you get from the moment you serve notice until the moment you refund that money is regular chases from your tenant, be that emails, calls, whatever. When am I getting my deposit back? So we massively reduce that burden on your inbox and on your phone system, because tenants can visually see where they are in the journey. This whole timeline can be interacted with. Every step has what we call micro stages, so it sets out how many steps need to happen to complete that relevant stage. But the point is, it's very, very visual. And if I quickly, we are obviously fully responsive. So if I just shrink this down a bit, once we get small enough, this is what we look like on a tablet or a mobile. So it becomes a wheel instead of a timeline, but still same functionality, fully interactive. And yeah, so let's whiz through and get to the checkout as quick as we can. So one thing in our platform, inventory is the booking of a checkout, and the checkout is the actual physical event. There is still, this is a prize that's been running for nearly 3 years. If anyone can come up with a single word that is better than inventory for booking a checkout, let us know.
We use, I mean, historically, we use the process of all of the activity is deemed as inventory management, and that's inventory. I mean, the full word is inventory and schedule of condition, of course.
Well, there you go.
Inventory is a list of items, and actually, what you're interested in is the condition. So the inventory and schedule of condition is the very bespoke to the property industry name, and then of course checkouts are the exception reports. It registers change. So, but the management is the whole process, including midterms.
So we're going to quickly whip through. We've got the platform configured so the agent sets the checkout time. So we're going to come in, the checkout is set for today. We're going to say that that was an 8 AM appointment this morning. Obviously, this would be done way in advance normally. We're sort of bunching everything together for the purpose of the demo today. And what the platform's now done, that has emailed the tenant to say, by the way, your checkout's happening this date, this time. You can customize those emails with whatever those processes are. So some of our agents require keys to be returned to the local office at least a day before. Some require you to meet the clerk on site, but whatever it is, that could be customized. Now, cleaning arrangements. We recommend that this is guided by the tenant. Now, we don't facilitate the booking of the clean. The whole purpose of this is that the tenant needs to submit what their cleaning arrangements are. And this is all about, again, tenants understanding what their responsibilities are. If I hop across over to my emails, we've got, so here we are. Here is the email for the tenant saying, please let us know what your cleaning arrangements are. And we're just going to open that up just to show what the tenant journey looks like. And so, you know, here's the tenant journey. There is one recommended cleaner that's been set up by the agent. So those details are there. And the tenant can choose, can say, yeah, do you know what? I've called them, was happy with the quote. I've booked them, or I've booked it in with another company, and they can type that in, or self-clean. But whatever they choose, we're going to say that they're friendly, compliant tenants, and they've been happy with the quote. They've booked that clean in. But to submit this, they have to acknowledge the cleaning checklist, which again is a bespoke document our clients can set up, and that can set out anything from what is technically required from a clean to be handed back, pros and cons of doing it themselves, etc. But again, it's all about removing areas of ignorance, areas of uncertainty for a tenant. And so there you see the tenant's dashboard, very, very similar to the agent's, just a smaller menu, but near identical. So we're going to come back into the agent's dashboard. And so we've booked the checkout, the tenant submitted their clean, we've arrived at the end date. The platform knows that the checkout was booked for 8 AM this morning, so it wants confirmation that's happened. Now, just to quickly show, this can be facilitated manually. So you can come in and say, yep, the checkout's been completed. When you receive the checkout report, or if you generate it yourself, you can upload it and fill out the meter readings. But that's not why we're here today. What we're here today is to show what our integration with you guys does. And this is where we're at. So I'm going to hop across to our capture dashboard. We have a report typed up, ready to go. So fingers crossed it's going to work. We're going to click upload and send. So we've already linked the records between the systems. The report's been prepared. Whether you're an agent that chooses to use capture and do it in-house, or you do this outsourced through the No Letting Go service, either way, this integration can be facilitated.
Yeah, and it's worth pointing out that anyone who's a capture licensee or uses capture, or of course any of the No Letting Go clients throughout the UK, get this as free of charge. It's not a chargeable thing from as far as we can. It's just part of the service. Just need to tell us and we plug it in.
Exactly right. The integration between us is completely free of charge. No setup fee, no ongoing increase in membership, anything like that. It's just our companies working together to deliver the agents a great service. So whilst we've been talking there, the magic has already happened. So what you can see is that we were on checkout. It's now completed that stage, completed the meter readings, and it's gone to the deductions. And we're here. We've got a prompt review deposit deductions. If we scroll down, we've got the checkout report in the system here. So that is already live and available. You click on that, that can be seen. When those reports land in our system, we trigger emails out to the landlord, to the tenant, according to the agent settings. So most agents have that go out to the landlord straight away. So the landlord get an email saying, great news, checkout report's finished. It's in the platform, available to view and download. Tenants can be notified immediately, but quite a lot of our agents choose our other setting, which is they will get an email saying that the checkout report has been completed, but is under review. And it then gets released once they get sent proposed deductions or are told there are none. Okay. Now, I'm just going to take it back a step, and I'm just going to show you what's happened before we get to the import, which is the big sort of mind-blowing bit. So we know we've validated the checkout's taken place, which in our platform validates the end date. We know that the checkout report's been uploaded because that's in here. We hop across to meter readings and view. Here we go. So we have extracted all the meter reading data out of the report. So whatever is in there, the reading, the meter number, the photo, if it's there, we capture it. If you choose to, we do have a utility partner integration with a company called Please Connect Me. And if you, and again, that's another free partnership. And if you do adopt that partnership, we instantly send this information. So the moment this landed in our box, that was instantly transferred to Please Connect Me, and they have all the certified end dates, meter readings, and utility data, so they can make sure all the bills are closed off. So you don't need to input that into any other dashboard. That just happens simultaneously. And so now we get to the deduction stage. So let's come into review deductions, and here we go. So we've got, what, probably somewhere in the region of about 15 dilapidations that have been flagged as tenant liability within the checkout report or liability unknown. And if we expand one of these, we can see that we've captured the description. We've captured any, the category, any description. We've pulled through the relevant documents, the tenancy agreement, check-in and check-out, but we've also captured the photographic evidence. That is all in there. Now, the reason these are in red is the main thing that's missing from these at the moment is a value. But importantly, and what we've recently added as a kind of phase 2 of our partner inventory integrations is the ability to now clean up what's been pulled in through the system, because you don't really want to be negotiating 15 deductions. You don't want to be negotiating what I think there's probably about 8 different cleaning charges here. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to pull a lot of these together. So we're going to pull all the cleaning ones together: reception floor, bathroom, kitchen, oven, hand basins, kitchen extractor. So those are all cleaning. That one's coming under cleaning, but that's sort of gardening. Although we looked at the photos, that was cleaning up the patio. So we're going to put that all under cleaning. So now I've ticked multiple boxes. We've got this merge deduction button up here. So we're going to come in here. We can edit this. We can say various cleaning issues. We're going to assign a value. So we're going to say, right, we've already spoken to our cleaners, or maybe they've already been in, and that's the cost. Now, what we've got here is the issue description of all of those issues we've merged together, all captured together. And if we come down to the bottom, all of the photos for all of those issues, all gathered together. Okay. Now, we can reference all of these 3 evidence fields are optional for an agent. We do recommend filling it out at least the tenancy contract clause one if possible, but you can reference the inventory and check-in. You can reference the checkout report. But we're going to come in here and we're going to say, okay, so agents can pre-populate popular tenancy clauses in the back end of the system. They've got a few here. They haven't done a cleaning one, so we're going to type one in. So we're going to say enter manually. We're going to say G6 cleaning requirements. And the tenancies, we're just going to cite the clause. Now, also, we can add something. So let's say we do have an official quote, or we do have an invoice or a receipt for that job. I can add that to that as well. You know, so not only have we got all the evidence from you guys, we've got that invoice or quote. There we go, that's in there. And just going to merge deductions, and we just give that a couple of seconds to work its magic. And again, in our live environment, it will do this a little bit quicker because we're in our test environment. 1 second. So we come down here, and then just to show, so we've got various cleaning issues, £180. We can still expand that. There's all the descriptions. There's all the evidence with the invoice we added to it. Now, what's that taken? 2-3 minutes with me waffling over the top of it. How long, if you're a property manager or an admin watching this, how long would it have taken you to go through an entire checkout report, identify all the cleaning issues, and type those up and assign a value?
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, it is a process. I mean, you've probably taken an hour I would imagine, conservatively, depending on the size of the checkout, of course, out of that process.
And then we've got, so I'll whip through these other ones quickly, because I think everyone now gets the idea. But what we're going to do, there's 2 gardening ones here, so we're just going to merge those 2 together. We're going to actually, no, we'll leave that as damage. Garden maintenance issues, and again we're going to assign a value. We're going to choose garden maintenance, which is already pre-populated. So there we go. So we're going to merge those 2. Hopefully that was quite easy. Done. And then the remaining maintenance issues, light fitting, scuffed walls, we're going to merge those because we're going to have one maintenance contractor go in and address those 4 issues. So general maintenance damage, and again, contain property. And so there we have it. In 3-4 minutes, what we've done is we've captured a checkout report. We've captured the checkout report and distributed that.
Yeah.
We've extracted all the meter reading data, and if you use our partner integration, we've instantly distributed that to them. So bills are being closed instantly. We've extracted all the dilapidations out of the report, all the evidence in there, and we've now merged them and assigned a value.
Yeah.
And like I said, this is our biggest win. This is, when we were building these integrations with you guys 2 years ago, we were really excited. I think the thing at the time that caught us slightly off guard was the volume of issues that can come in, and that really was a mistake by me as an agent. I should have foreseen that.
Yeah, particularly in the historically the student market, which of course are big properties. Not so much they're necessarily any worse than anyone else, but they're typically 8, 9, 10 bedroom properties. And
that's a lot of notes.
It's a lot of notes. That's a lot of information coming in, and of course. A big, within our system, we're consolidating data, but of course the important thing is that in this system you're consolidating it all in the right places so that it can be moved out elsewhere. So it's a great bit of kit, Chris.
Well, what this does, working with you guys, like I said, part of our journey is about making this fair, transparent, and sort of evidenced and factual. And so what we're seeing, we've been going over 2.5, approaching 3 years now. We see between 70 to 80% of all proposed deductions are accepted by tenants without any negotiation, because it's very hard to argue, rather than getting this long rambling email about how disappointing it is they didn't do X, Y, Z, rather than being presented with 3 very factual, here's the tenancy agreement that sets out your responsibility, here's the check-in report that shows it wasn't like that when you moved in, and here's the checkout report that shows it was, and there's the invoice to fix it, and here's 5 photos of the damage you caused.
Yeah, but it does highlight, Christian, how critical inventories are. I mean, so
absolutely,
we still less so with agents these days, but certainly, I've been doing this for going on 20 years, and of course, the devil's in the detail. I used to do presentations to landlords, and I'd say disputes are determined at the beginning of a tenancy, not the end.
Yeah,
you've got to get your paperwork in order.
And I still ascertain. I think inventories are probably the best value that a landlord gets in the whole process if it's done right. Because if you think the value of the asset that an inventory record protects a landlord for versus what you pay to get that record, that's an insane kind of return on investment.
It is, but also one of the the hidden costs, and subsequently this comes a benefit, of course, is the process that takes to get this information through and at the end of the tenancy is a void period, particularly in high rental areas. If you've got nobody moving into that property for a week because of sorting out a lot of issues at the back end of it, it's a cost. And we say to people, obviously we're upselling inventory services and all that sort of thing, but we'll say to people that obviously the efficiency of the negotiation side of the business is critical. You're looking at the importance of your brand to tenants and landlords, and you doing a great service, but actually the daily cost of a tenant not being in that property is incredible. You know, anything to do to get the process moving over much quicker.
So look, Nick, whilst you've been talking, what I've just also been doing is I'm just showing that as well as what comes out of the report, agents can add other things. So I'm just adding a rent arrears cost to the proposal. So, you know, we've just added this in. You're not limited to only being able to add things relating to an inventory. So we've extracted the inventory data, we've added in rent arrears. Yeah. Now, today, we're not going to take everyone through the whole journey. What I am going to quickly show is I'm just going to take us through the landlord sign-off process, which then, and then it being presented to a tenant. And I think we'll leave today's demo at that point when we get there. Yeah, so as an agent, when you're ready, you go to sign-off deductions. You can skip landlord approval depending on the level service, but we're going to now send this off for a landlord to approve. Now, importantly, one of the things we do with landlords is we have a 5-day sort of silence as acceptance rule within our platform. So you see here this example of the email a landlord would get: tenancy, proposed deductions, and this very bold statement, and they will get a daily reminder that they must respond within 5 days. And if they don't respond within 5 days, like I said, silence is seen as acceptance, that is approval, and it just keeps the tenant moving, keeps the tenancy moving. So you don't get an irate tenant screaming down the phone because a landlord's gone off on holiday for 2 weeks and decided that this can wait till they get back from holiday. So we're going to quickly jump in just to see what the landlord sees. And again, I think collaborating with inventory clerks, this is how letting agents and property management companies really set out what a robust professional setup they've got. Because you compare a landlord getting this to some waffly email where it goes, oh, you know, we've gone through this and we've gone through that, and here's a list of things, and oh, if you want to have a look at the checkout report, you can see the photos for yourself. But literally, as we saw on the dashboard, the landlord can come in here, they can see all the notes, all the evidence, etc., etc. And landlords have a choice. They can accept, edit, or delete individual deductions if they want to, or they can do a 1-click, 2-click accept all. So pretty straightforward stuff. You know, we do have some landlords go to, you know what, I'm not fussed, I'm selling the house, and I'll take out that, and I'll take out that. I'm really not fussed about it. Sometimes, and this is probably more common, this won't surprise agents watching, they will edit it, and the main thing they will want to edit is the amount that's been proposed, and typically upwards. Now, we do have a process in here. Agents watch this, don't worry. A landlord can't come in here and suddenly whack these all up, like double all of these, and send them off to the tenant without you knowing. We do some reputation management. So if a landlord proposes any changes, the ball gets passed back to the agent, and again, we've got that 5-day timeline sort of lock-in for approval. But for the purpose of today, we're going to say that Mr. Landlord or Mrs. Landlord has come in, they're blown away by how concise all of these deductions are. They can see everything's been covered, and they're going to go, great, we're happy with those proposals. And again, there's an opportunity for you to see a landlord's dashboard. So again, very similar to what we've seen before. And we're just going to come back into the dashboard for the agent. So we can see this is moving through, deductions proposed, deductions agreed and sent. And we're not going to go through this process, but we're just going to show. So here is the email to the tenant. Now, the only slight difference is the email to the tenant, we actually itemize the deductions before they even go in the platform. The settings were made so the checkout report was only available at this stage. So we've now got the statement the checkout report is also available.
Yeah.
And, you know, the tenant jumps in, and similar, but just very slightly different design for tenants, but very, very similar generally. So again, they've got this 1-click accept all. This is very much what they're expecting. And again, they can expand each issue. They can see every piece of documented evidence. All of these can be clicked on and opened to be seen in more detail, be that a photo, be that the inventory report moving in at the start of the tenancy, or the checkout report, whatever that is. The point is the tenant has every document at their fingertips, able to assess it quickly, and they can now engage, accept or counter, and they will now go through that process with the agents. So I really just wanted to focus on the core bit of what you guys do. Obviously, we then facilitate going through negotiations, and once we get to the end of that, for insured scheme, we capture all the reconciliation data, so how the funds are split, all the bank details. If we capture bank details, we capture forwarding addresses, because tenants have to give us a forwarding address to give us a bank detail. If you're on a custodial scheme, then all we will do is gather the reconciliation in terms of deductions. And the moment that is agreed and signed off, we then send that data over to TDS, and they then facilitate reconciliation and concluding deposit registration certificate. But yeah, so that was really, let's jump back on here. Let's stop presenting. So that's it. That is really trying to highlight the massive win that our partner integration does.
Yeah, I just think, I mean, what's also interesting, of course, is that that all of the companies developing, so our company's developing, collecting more data, more services are coming in. As time goes on, obviously working with you, Christian, additional data will be able to be fed into these. So it's a living, breathing partnership.
Yeah, and look, talking about data, we've rolled out some really exciting reporting functionality. We rolled that out about 2-3 months ago now. So you've got your generic snapshots of where a tenancy's at, which for larger organizations the dashboard isn't going to cut it. But I think the 3 reports that agents get most excited about with us is we've got time to close, so the time it takes to return a deposit from after the checkout, and you can do that at account, branch, or individual user level. Percentage achieved on proposed deductions. So what is the original amount of deductions proposed versus what is the final agreed amount? So again, management can see, I think that data highlights 2 things: the fairness of what's being proposed, but also the competency of the member of staff negotiating those.
Yeah.
And we can also do a sort of itemized breakdown of what those dilapidations are. So again, for medium to larger operations, if they have or are looking to bring maintenance in-house, we can actually provide a lot of data around what those typical dilapidations are, what type of work, so they can plan resources, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, those are the big ones. We also didn't touch on dispute reports. Now, again, we don't hang our hook on this because disputes for most agents is sort of 1 to 2%. But because of the way we collect all the data and we have all the documents in there, when you're doing a dispute through TDS with us, you don't create a dispute file. We will generate a dispute file for you. Now, with custodial, we generate that file for you, and then you then upload it. But that's all you have to do, just upload it into the system. For the insured scheme, you don't have to do anything. Literally, it is 2 clicks of a button. You can add further evidence if you want to, but providing everything needed is already in the platform and is literally 2 clicks of a button, and we generate that file and pass that straight to TDS. So again, it doesn't happen often, but most agents I talk to, uploading or submitting a dispute file is a good 1 to 2 hours work.
Yeah, well, it's right. It doesn't happen that often, but when you have it, when it does happen, it's like, And
it's horrible because fundamentally all you're doing is repeating the work that you've done over the last 4, 8, 12 weeks, however long it's been going on.
And also you've got to try and collect all the information together as well. That's where the top, have I got that?
All the emails, all the evidence, all the documents, everything you've been referring to throughout that whole conversation, you've now got to provide to TDS. We've now got that all in our system, which we provide to TDS in an approved format. So that's another big win. We don't, like I said, we don't go big sell on that because I know for most agents it's not high volume, but for most agents, again, if you're a medium to larger operation, it is a fact of life. You do have a few of those, and particularly right now in peak season, probably your highest volume of disputes happening at the point where you're having to process your highest volume of tenancy transitions as well. So it's it's that double whammy of Jesus. I really don't have 2 hours spare to do this right now, but you've got no choice. So look, Nick, I will stop waffling on. Thanks for your time today.
Absolute pleasure. And it's a great bit of software. A real and I've said this many times that you know there is software and there's software. Softwares that solve problems, and then there's nice to have softwares. And I think this actually solves a problem.
Yeah, exactly. And look, so I think anyone watching this, if if this has intrigued you at all, if you just want to find out more, reach out to the guys at No Letting Go or Capture, or come to us. It doesn't matter. We'll happily do our best to answer whatever questions we can and refer across accordingly. So maybe you use a different inventory provider, and you're thinking, my God, this could be a double whammy. We could bring in the Depositary to streamline stuff, but we could also bring in No Letting Go and benefit from that integration.
I mean, come and talk to us. We will take you through the whole process end to end. How it all fits together. As I mentioned earlier on, we've got 90 offices across the UK. Big teams of people, enormous amount of scope to deliver demand. And of course, the one big advantage we have is that we combine the internal reporting, which is Capture, with the external side. So actually, you have this combination of you can use both resources in-house and external all in one place. So whether you're using Capture to do midterms and No Letting Go to do inventories and checkouts, or you're doing the checkout and we're doing the inventory, it all still goes into Depositary.
Yeah. And also, guys, obviously we didn't show today, but our platform is completely white labeled. It was all done in Depositary Blue and our logo today, but that would all be sat with your agency brand, your agency color. All of the communications our platform goes through can be customized. You have a subdomain bespoke landing page, so everything from end to end is agency branded. Nick, I don't know about you. For us, we can onboard clients very quickly. I mean, we can do a demo if an agent gives us the thumb up. I mean, we've got clients at the moment who, they say, yep, they want to go ahead, and we're training their staff within a week of having that call.
We exactly the same. I mean, we onboard people, whether it's on Capture or No Letting Go. No Letting Go, of course, is an outsourced service, so it's instantaneous. So we just set you up as an account, we agree the pricing, and then it happens, whether it's on a national level or locally with one of the offices. As far as Capture concerned, yes, there's a demo. Obviously, we've been doing inventories. That is our game. So we impart all the inventory knowledge to you to show you how to do it, and then that gives you the ability to do it in-house. And then if you ever get stuck or on holidays or whatever, then No Letting Go always steps in and covers for you. That's one of the big advantages.
Nick, thanks so much for your time today. So I think what we're saying for agents is, if you want to transform your tenancy conclusion operations, easy for me to say, you want to drive that workload down from 3 to 4 hours to 10 to 15 minutes. You want to embrace best practice with inventory recording, checkout reporting, all that data extraction, and everything that comes with that. Get in touch. Contact No Letting Go. Get in touch with Depositary, and we'll help you guys transform how you do things. Nick, buddy, thanks for your time. See you soon.
Thank you very much. Take care.
All right, cheers.